the idolatry, you will kill an animal, offer the blood to the animal, and make all the incantations and stuff like that.
Lord,
but 1 month later, I lost my job and I didn't have nothing to give to nobody because my mother got rid of everything.
Right.
So I went back to that little girl that was 15 years old at that time. And I asked her, well, in this religion, what you do when you want God to do something for you? And she said, well, you read the Bible. That's all. She said, well, no, you can fast. Oh, okay. And what else? Well, you will pray. Okay, can you help me out? So she was 15 and I was 25. And then I started fasting and praying. It took me, that was in February 1993.
Mm-hmm.
In March 1994, I received the baptism of the Holy Spirit. And that was it.
Wow.
That was it.
That's amazing. Folks, this is Book Talk with Corbin. I'm your host. We're speaking today with Irena Baptiste. She's talking about, she was born in Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
Raised as a communist and an idolater. And she just finished talking to us about her conversion to Christianity. This sister has a powerful story. Please share this interview with as many people as possible. Because, sis, as you know, there is a growing support for socialism in the United States. I mean, that's partially evidenced by Bernie Sanders almost becoming the Democratic Party's presidential nominee. And he's been a clear Marxist for 25, 30 years. What are your thoughts on that?
What can I tell you? Well, you told me it was 15 minutes. 15 minutes, man, that's not going to be the whole time to tell you that. Mm-hmm. Let me give you the same. I will try to do the same thing I did when the CRT conference. And let me see if I can give you two or three important points.
Sure.
That the Black community in America already know, and that will help them relate to that. Mark you, I don't tell you that they're going to like it. What I'm telling you is that they probably will relate to that. By my experience, there is about 2 or 3 things that communism always do to people. It destroys the family. It separates the family. Terrible, in a terrible way. And I will tell you first, I'll give you an example. Today is Friday, isn't it? Well, on Tuesday, I have right here in my living room, I was talking to some guy that is from my same hometown in Cuba. And obviously everybody among us, all of us who are here, we are talking all the time about what's going on, what you know about your family, what you heard about what's going on. So we have been very stressed, very much stressed out. But one of the first things I want you to understand, and I told that to my husband the other day, what happened with the Black community in America is they are already living the socialism system. And that's the reason why they support it. You are already living under the system. The families have been destroyed. They don't question who is coming into power. They don't question the individual. They don't ask anything. They're already trained to accept whoever comes. Even if my house is destroying and the person is not offering me no solution for anything, I will still support that and I will still vote for him regardless. Am I saying something wrong, Mr. Corbin?
No, you're not. No, you're not.
And I know it's all too well because I tell you, I live my whole life like that. I cannot even tell you, we were voting. I will go and vote and I won't even know exactly who the person was. You don't know anything about that individual. You don't know anything about his biography. You don't know anything about it. I don't remember, for crying out loud, I don't remember nobody telling me anything about what was his plan to make my life any better. And yet I will go and vote. Does it sound familiar?
Yes. Yes.
I'll tell you, that friend of mine that was here on Tuesday was telling me, Irena, I have a sister, that the only thing I'm waiting is for the communists to fall in Cuba, and I will go to Cuba and tell I bring her to the tribunal and to court, and I will tell them to put her 25 years in jail. but in prison because she's the most damn communist I have seen in my life. So that's a family that is completely split. And I saw personally my father pull up a machete on my brother, his only son. He didn't have nobody else. That man only had 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. And that boy was the love of his life. And my father pulled a machete on my brother because my brother dared to say something against Fidel Castro.
Oh my God.
That is how bad it gets. When communism brainwash you to believe that so-and-so is an excellent human being, even though the people are dying, people cannot go anywhere, you cannot have a business, you have a university degree. And I have to see, like I saw my mother cooking food in the backyard under the rain with wood, because there's no economical sustenance whatsoever.
Right.
And yet you don't question who's ruling you and who you are putting in the government.
Right. Sis, we just have a few minutes left. That was a very powerful, very powerful presentation. Now I better appreciate what you said about 20 minutes is not enough. You're absolutely correct.
I told you.
Sis, right now what's happening, the show, I usually don't try to cover current events, but it's hard to ignore this. I myself am a former Marxist, a former socialist. I was strongly sympathetic towards the Socialist Workers' Party, and they just idolized the Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, the so-called socialist revolution in Cuba. And all this time, I've never really seen much in the way of protest in Cuba. Now, I remember the time when, Castro said, hey, if you guys want to leave, they had tens of thousands of people.
Yes, I tell you what that was.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you what that was. The communists and socialism. I want you to tell you, I want you to understand this. Socialism is the economical system. Communism is the philosophical foundation of socialism. So the communism is the philosophy, socialism is the economical program. The program is to make the population live out of a centralized government with all authority. People have no weapons, no guns, no freedom of speech. This is what the socialism economical system, it is all about. But basically, we all know government don't produce anything. Right. When you cannot produce anything and you don't give place to the free enterprise, the economy goes down, 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 down to the utmost poverty all the time. Mm-hmm. So every time in history, when you have seen so many people coming out of Cuba, is that this is the valve of escape the government uses when it cannot longer sustain anybody. Mm. And then what it does is just leave. Mm. Why? Because I can't sustain it.
Wow.
And the people that want to leave are the people that basically are the dissidents within the system. So it's a double purpose. I solve the problem of that I cannot handle that many people. I don't have nothing for that many people. I cannot feed you. I cannot clothe you. I cannot give you no assistance. I won't let the church give assistance to nobody. Mm. I tell you, in 1995, my pastor was thrown in prison for 18 months because the church have grown too much. We were getting assistance and food and medicines from the United States, and the government did not want that to happen.
Wow. So what's the protest now, sis? What's sparking that?
Tell you what happened. For years, the Cuban communities, all the people that left the country. I mean, I leave the country and I have relatives in Cuba. So basically, the government have been living out like a leech, feeding up in the money of the people of the Cuban international community. But anytime, I have never returned to Cuba. Once I left, never returned. All my family is here. My mommy died here in 2015. But the people that have to return to the country were miserably treated. Mm. And then they started people outside the country realizing that, wait a minute, we are nationals. We have our family there. You have to go back there every now and then and almost every year because you want to visit your family. And then people start realizing that the economy of the country has been essentially sustained by the international Cuban community. Wow. Now, I would suggest you to try to find a guy in YouTube. You may not understand what he's saying, but his name is Alex Otaola, Otaola, Otaola. I would, if I could share the screen, I would show you who he is. This is an influencer, a YouTube influencer the community have rallied behind him. And he started explaining to everybody, let's stop giving money to the government. Because the government, let me tell you something, the Castro family have businesses everywhere in the world. I want you to understand, communist people love capitalism. They love it for, the only problem with that is that they love it for themselves. They don't love it for me and you. That is the reason why I saw it now, the Senate and representative in democratic places like Maxine Waters, whose district is a miserable place. She lives like a queen outside the district, and everybody in the district lives in misery. I said, that's what happened in Cuba. That's exactly what the Castros did. They have businesses everywhere in the world, and the Cuban government is dying in destitution, poverty, hungry, and famine. Now the people were saying, we're sending money to Cuba to our family. And now the government is selling to the people in dollars. The food and the clothing and everything we are sending to our family, the government steal the help and support. It's steal it for themselves, sell it to the people at over ridiculously high prices. And then the people still are hungry and will have famine because I don't have a business. I have to live like a beggar my whole life. So the international Cuban community decide, we are going to stop feeding you. We're going to stop giving you money, because something happened at the beginning of COVID. That was last year. At the beginning of COVID, the whole community in Miami, Florida, gathered together and put like 5 containers of food and assistance, medication, help for the elderly people and everything for their families in Cuba. The Cuban government stole the 5 containers and sold it. And people knew, because people, when people receive, the people have to go to the stores, buy the stuff. And some people have marked, some people put the name of somebody in their, this is going for so-and-so, let me write down the name on it. And people got the things with the name of the people in need. So they knew it was the stolen goods from the Miami community. And then people start realizing that they have to spend, can you imagine? People have been spending 5, 6, 4 hours, 8 hours in line trying to buy a chicken that the Cuban government received from the United States behind the door. And they break it down and put it in little packages so people don't know that the food is coming from the United States. So and then they bring the people at the same time. The suppression of the political dissidents has been cruel. Can you imagine? There is a guy in Santiago who have like a little lunchroom, and he will feed the elderly, the disabled people. The Cuban government put paramilitary people dressed in civilian clothing to stop people going there, so you don't go ahead and get food over there. They have been disappearing people, killing people, doing that. So they have brought the people to the breaking point in which this neighbor of mine from my same hometown said, Irena, for the first time in 62 years, I hear my 70-year-old mother telling me things cannot get any worse. And it had getting so worse that the other day at the protest, even senior people in walkers were going outside to protest. So they have bringing the people to the breaking point. The grip have been so tight that they have been killing people. 13-year-old child died. They are sending people to beat people on the streets. The other day, I was looking at a heartbreaking news of a man that was killed before his wife and children. And you just saw in Facebook with the blood of the guy and the woman completely desperate, crying out because that guy, the regime police just dragged this man away, and you see the blood in the floor of his house and everything. And the woman asking, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And the problem is that they shut down all the means of communication because they don't want people. Right. They don't want the world to know. But people, the Cuban community is knowing what's going on because, the families are trying to get by VPN and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And the families keep sending by pictures and everything was happening.
Folks, this is a Book Talk with Corbin. I'm your host, and this is our Irena Baptiste. She is a Cuban exile, ordained minister, homeschooling mother,